For decades, India has built fighter jets, missiles, radars, and warships. But one critical technology has always remained out of reach: the engine. Today, India's most important fighter jet production remains stuck. At least 20 Tejas Mk1A jets are sitting fully built with no engine to fly them, because America's GE Aerospace is behind schedule on the F404 engine India paid for years ago. That is why Delhi is doing something it should have finished decades back. It is restarting Kaveri, India's own jet engine project. But can India finally crack one of aerospace engineering's toughest challenges? Could this become India's biggest leap towards true defense self-reliance? And can India afford to wait until 2030 for an answer? Let's break this down. Here is the problem in one line. Hindustan Aeronautics Limited has built about 20 Tejas Mk1A airframes. They are ready, but they have no engine to put inside them. The engine in question is the American F404 in 20, made by GE Aerospace. In 2021, India signed a deal worth $716 million for 99 of these engines, meant for 83 Tejas Mk1A jets. So far, only 6 engines have actually arrived. That's a massive shortfall, and it gets worse. One F404 in 20 engine delivered in May turned out to be defective during post-delivery checks. HAL flagged it to the American manufacturer and moved to fix the issue. The rest of the delivered units were cleared for use, but the damage to the timeline was already done. GE Aerospace has openly admitted the problem. The company says it is struggling to source critical components and special materials, and it is prioritizing its civilian aircraft engine orders over military ones. That means India's fighter jets are quite literally waiting in line behind commercial airliners. HAL has responded by invoking penalty clauses against GE Aerospace. Payments to the company are now being made only after delay fines are deducted. The Indian government has added its own financial penalty on top. HAL expects 20 engines to arrive between June and December this year. If that timeline holds, production can finally pick up pace. If it does not, the delays will simply continue. A full review of the Tejas Mk1A program is expected in September to decide the next steps on deliveries and testing. This is exactly why India has restarted the Kaveri engine program. Officially, it happened in Feb this year. The gas turbine research establishment under the DRDO has been mandated to complete development and testing of what is now called Kaveri 2.0. Defence Minister Rajnath Singh did not mince words at a recent engine trial. He said India must assume that 20 years have already been lost and that there are only 5 to 7 years left to catch up. That's a rare admission from a minister, and it tells you how seriously the delay is being taken. The goal now is to gradually replace the F404 on the Tejas fleet through the 2030s. Here is where the engine stands technically. The first flight test phase will use the current afterburning configuration, producing around 73 kilonewtons of thrust. GTRE plans high-altitude testing through 2026 and 2027. By 2028, a Kaveri engine is expected to be integrated on a Tejas testbed aircraft. The first real flight test milestone is targeted for 2030. There is more in the pipeline too. An upgraded afterburning version targeting 84 to 85 kilonewtons is under development, meant to properly match a light fighter's needs. A non-afterburning or dry version producing 49 to 51 kilonewtons has already been validated for India's unmanned platforms, including the stealth combat drone demonstrator called Ghatak. A former GTRE official has laid out an even longer roadmap: a common engine core between 90 and 140 kilonewtons, developed over the next 30 years. The first step in that plan is Kaveri 2.0 itself, at around 90 kilonewtons, designed specifically to eventually beat the American engine it depends on today. The Indian Air Force urgently needs more fighters. Its squadron strength remains well below the sanctioned requirement of 42 squadrons. Tejas Mk1A is expected to become one of the aircraft filling that gap. But every production delay affects operational readiness. A successful Kaveri program could eventually reduce India's dependence on overseas suppliers, simplify logistics, and provide greater control over production schedules. It could also support future programs, the Tejas family, advanced unmanned combat aircraft, and perhaps future fighter programs after further evolution. The strategic value goes well beyond one aircraft. India is not stopping at Kaveri either. For its next generation fighter, the amca Mark II, Delhi is evaluating partners to co-develop a 120 kN engine, while insisting on keeping the intellectual property rights. Francis Safran is frequently named as a contender. India is separately in talks with Rolls-Royce about a domestic 90 to 100 kN engine meant to eventually replace both the F404 and the more powerful F414. Rolls-Royce's own CEO called India a third domestic market earlier this year in talks with Prime Minister Modi. That's a telling choice of words from a foreign company. India's new defense budget has increased funding for aircraft and engines, but money alone does not fix a 20-year gap in engine technology. The F404 delay has exposed a hard truth. India cannot keep building a world-class fighter jet while depending entirely on someone else for the one part that makes them fly. Kaveri 2.0 is India's attempt to close that gap. Whether it succeeds by 2030 will decide a lot more than just the Tejas program. It will decide whether India's fighter jets can ever fly on an engine India actually owns.
If they had a nuclear weapon,
The old rules are breaking. Alliances are shifting.
Apologize again to the victims of the paedophile Jeffrey Epstein.
Wars are redrawing maps. Oil routes can shake economies overnight. One election in America can impact markets in Mumbai.
no tax on tips.
One move by China can alter the balance in Asia. One conflict in West Asia can hit every Indian household. This is no longer a distant story. This is our story. Your story. Because for the first time in decades, India is not watching from the sidelines. India is rising. India is negotiating. India is balancing rivals. India is building military strength. India is shaping trade routes. India is becoming central to the new global order. And yet, most global news is still told through someone else's lens. Washington's lens, Beijing's lens, London's lens. But where is India's lens? Where is the platform that explains the world from our perspective? Welcome to India's Axis, a new destination for geopolitics, strategy, and power seen through India's eyes. From Neighborhood Watch to the biggest global stories that matter to you. Why tensions in the Taiwan Strait matter to India. How one move by China can affect India's security. What turmoil in Pakistan means for regional stability. How Bangladesh, Sri Lanka, Nepal, and Bhutan shape India's neighborhood. Why oil choke points can hit your wallet. How wars abroad can reshape India's security. This is not noise. This is not shouting. This is not recycled headlines. This is sharp, intelligent storytelling. Daily explainers, war room analysis, strategic conversations. Because news is everywhere, but perspective is rare. And in the age of confusion, clarity is power. Axis is for the audience that wants more than headlines. The axis of global power is shifting. India is at the center of that shift. It's time the world was explained accordingly. To understand the world through India's strategic lens. Subscribe now.